Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. So in this one, we're going to take a look at the JPG token launch that happened during the week. So JPG Store is currently the #1 NFT marketplace on Cardano, but the launch of the token didn't really go down that well in the community. So Wave Financial were the ones that provided the initial liquidity. They put up a massive amount of liquidity, but started to pull it out after only 4 hours, and people didn't fully know what was going on or what was going to happen or when they would stop. So it kind of spooked the market. We'll take a look at some of the numbers around it, what they put in, what they pulled out, and compare how other projects have done the initial liquidity too. Get value, please do share it out. Subscribe if you're new. If I miss anything or you think it should be included, do leave a comment down below and I'll try and include it in my weekly Cardano video tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let's jump into it. Okay, so this is the current chart for the JPG token and doesn't look all that great. You see on the initial launch, the token flew up, potentially some bots buying initially and selling quickly, but there's a lot more going on here than just bots. We'll take a look at some of the data first and then maybe come back to the chart to finish up the discussion then. So before we jump fully into JPG Store, as I haven't done my Cardano Markets video in a while, we'll take a very quick look at what's going on here. And this week, we have seen a lot of tokens having a fairly major pullback, and when there are big sales happening within the community, we do tend to see this. The liquidity in the community right now isn't that massive. So when there is a big sale coming up or a few sales coming up, generally you'll see lots of projects selling off because people want to have liquidity to go into new projects in the hope that the price is going to skyrocket on the new token. So if we look at over the last 7 days, for the tokens in the green, you have Ding, Snake, World Mobile. Lots of rumors about we might see something flying in the air fairly soon, long awaited for World Mobile. So lots of interest starting to really come in there. You can see actually trending NFTs. They are the #1 trending right now with a massive floor price. Yummy, Stable, Bank, iETH, EMP and Kopi rounding out the top tokens then. And if we look at on the 7 days that are down, what you notice is the last 24 hours, there's a lot of green there. That's because the two big sales that were the community was waiting for this week are now completed. So what happens is if people didn't get into them or that, then they can start to buy back into the other projects. Now that's just my assessment from watching a few different sales happening now at this point. So you can see the JPG token hasn't been around that long, so we can't really watch the numbers there. ENCS, I had Vlad on a while back to talk about what they're doing with privacy. Very solid project. You can see down a lot for the week, but in the last 24 hours back up 10%. Iagon also had the team on a while back, down heavy for the week, but has had a big bounce over the last 24 hours. Fact, the OrcFax token down a good bit too. I can't remember what their initial sale price is or was, but it's probably in around that right now. Cherry, Gens, Flack, Lefi and Opt rounding out the 10 for the biggest loss for the week, and Lenfi there as well, which is a project that has been on a downtrend over the last while. You can see it had a nice bounce like many others in the last 24 hours. So we'll keep an eye on them. Maybe next week I'll get back into my Cardano Markets videos then. So let's dive deeper into JPG Store then. So with JPG Store, they had a partnership with Wave Financial, who lots of people in Cardano will be familiar with them for their links to Charles and input output. And they are kind of an investing arm there. I'll maybe do a deep dive sometime into the different entities that are there and explaining how they all interact with each other. But there's a lot of connections over and back there. And Wave have been invested into different projects in Cardano before. So what happened was they made some deal with JPG Store to get a massive amount of tokens to provide the initial liquidity. So they would have bought the tokens off JPG. I did reach out to the foundation to find out if there was any details around when they could sell or anything like that. And they couldn't give me specifics. They just said that there are requirements in place for when they can sell and how much they can actually sell of the tokens. So what they done initially was, and actually Bobcorn has a really good thread here. I will link this one down below, and I've kind of done the up-to-date numbers on this as well, which we will look at in here in a minute. So Bobcorn talked through it here and what happened with what the whole story actually was. So if we scroll down through it here, so he says here that there is a distinct difference between pulling liquidity and dumping on the market. So there was a lot of talk that Wave were dumping their tokens on the market, but what they were doing was they were actually pulling their liquidity out. And I think I have that one open. So you can see here is that initially they created the pool. They created it with 52.5 million JPEG tokens and 5.39 million ADA. So that's a massive amount of liquidity. When you create a liquidity pool, you have to put in both sides, and that's how the initial token price is set. So you can see the initial token price was around 0.1 ADA. So that was working out what the ratio was between these, and that gives you your price. So after 4 hours here, you can see at 3:37, they started to pull out liquidity. And they've done this, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times they pulled out liquidity. And they pulled out all of this. You can see the different prices that they pulled it out at. So they did make some profit on it, but it wasn't like they were selling directly on the market. I'll show you the numbers in a minute on what they actually made. So if we look at Bobcorn's here, you can see he created about the breakdown and the net profit. So this was, they'd created the pool, which we went through. Within 4 hours, they started pulling. And here's the numbers here on what it was. This was 2 days ago, actually, he posted this. So I'll show you the updated numbers, and he has highlighted 2 addresses there that got some of the JPEG tokens. Some of the tokens were sent there as well. So if you want to keep an eye on what's going on or when they actually start to move tokens, then you could monitor them addresses too. So if we look at the numbers here, so this is all of the ADA that they took out. This is all of the JPEG tokens that they took out. So you can see the summaries here. So initially they put in there 5.39 million ADA, which we have talked about. And then there's the JPEG they put in. So totaling all of the numbers they took out, which is all of this here, TapTools Pro is brilliant for being able to track all of this type of stuff. You can see that what they should have left if things work, that what you put in and you take out was even, then it would be 1.7 and 25.9 million. But that's not the way it works with liquidity pools. You have fees, and trading means that the amount of each token you own goes up and down all the time. So if we look at what they actually own in liquidity right now, and again, I got that from JPEG Store. You can come in, really good new addition and a timely addition, the liquidity section here on TapTools. You come in and you can see who are all the liquidity providers on any given pool. So you can see it tells you here the amount that they have left. So you can see 25 million JPEG and 1.9 million ADA. So when I put them numbers in here, there's the 25, 1.9. So if we look at the ADA, so they initially put in 5.39 million. They took out 3.6, so that left that they were still short out of their wallet 1.7. I know they're not short because they still have the liquidity, but out of their actual wallet, they were still short 1.7. Their liquidity pool positions right now are worth 1.9 million. So if they pulled all of the liquidity out, not sure how that might affect the market. Definitely wouldn't be good for the markets. But right now they have a surplus of 195,000 ADA. And if you look at it on the JPEG token side, so they initially put in 52.5, they took out 26. Then with the liquidity they have in right now, that is 25 million. So if you add all of that up, basically right now their position is short 657,000 JPEG tokens. When you convert that at a price of 0.077 ADA, it means that they are short 50,000 or 51,000 ADA worth of JPEG tokens. When you take that into account, that is right now their overall position is up 144,000 ADA from providing liquidity and pulling out liquidity initially. So not the same as if they had to have dumped the JPEG tokens straight on the market. When you look through the wallet, you can see that they haven't sold anything directly from this wallet yet. As I showed in Bobcorn's thread, there are 2 other wallets if you want to keep full track of this. But that's where they sit. So for a wallet that has 73 million ADA, then 144,000 ADA isn't a massive amount. There is one other thing to take into consideration about the markets here, and that is that there was a lot of people got free JPEG tokens. So you can see the latest one here is that, and this was on the 26th of September, there was over 19 million JPEG tokens were claimed. So these were free tokens that the community basically got. So it was based on your NFT trading activity on the marketplace. You were able to claim tokens. So for a lot of people, they were getting a lot of free tokens or a lot of free money. So they got the JPG token. When they seen the bid, some people would have been going straight to sell anyway. But when they seen what was going on, and there was kind of the fear when they started to see a lot of the liquidity being drained out of the pool, you can be sure a lot of people rushed in to sell off their JPEG token because they weren't sure when it was going to stop or what was going to happen. There was no official statements on it. Now, since then, the JPG Foundation have come out and said here that Wave were the ones that provided the initial LP and talked about it there, about they put in a massive initial liquidity to, I suppose, to soften the trading if there was any big traders coming in there. I think really they could have put in a lot less liquidity initially, so they would have had a lot less at risk, and then they wouldn't have had to rush to pull out as much. I'm not sure if their plan all along was to just have that cushion initially and then pull out, or whether they started to see a lot of people selling off their airdrop and thought they needed to get some of their liquidity out to safeguard some of their own liquidity, or what the plan was. Definitely should have been explained a lot more what was actually happening, that the pool wasn't being drained, or that it was just pulling out some of the initial liquidity that was put in to help with trading. Definitely could have been handled a lot better. And when you look at the chart, you can see that as soon as liquidity started to come out, so it would have been 4 hours in, you can see the market just started to panic and started to sell off, and a lot of people lost confidence in it. Look, there's the other side of it as well, is that the JPEG token right now, as far as I'm aware, there is utilities to come with the launchpad and discounts on fees, but there's not a lot of people looking to hold a token right now for something like that. Maybe as time goes on, then people will look at doing it then. One thing here, Cardano Top put out a really good thread on the different NFT marketplaces that are out there on Cardano. So right now, JPEG Store is the major one, is the biggest one out there, and most people go there. But there's a lot of other marketplaces coming up on Cardano, and Cardano Top has put it out here with some of the features that each of them have. Dropshot is one I heard a lot of people talking about this week, which has a really good feature with liquid offers. So you can put in the liquidity you want to put in, but you can specify a few different NFTs that you'd like to buy with that. So you're not locking your liquidity in as a collection offer on one collection. You can put it in against multiple different collections, and then if one of them comes down to the price you're willing to pay, then it gets executed on that one. Where currently with the likes of JPEG Store, you pick the one collection that you want to use your funds against, and it has to sit there. So you would need more funds to be able to do that across multiple collections. Really nice feature to have. And look, there's lots of marketplaces there. I will leave a link to this for people who want to take a look at it and go through it and see what other options are out there. So I said just about other liquidity as well. So the Hunt token launched for Dex Hunter. I did a melon on a few weeks ago to talk about everything that they're doing over there. But if you look at the way that they've done the initial liquidity, I think it has some merits for other projects to look at doing as well. So if we go into the LP token, or the wallet that initially seeded the liquidity, I'm going to trade history and the trades. So what you'll notice here is Zap. So instead of remove, they have Zap. So they initially created the liquidity pool. Now they only put a very small amount of, well, 250,000 ADA isn't small, but for a project, it's a smaller amount of ADA to initially put in. So rather than put in the full amount of assets they had assigned as liquidity, what they done was put in a smaller amount first, and then they decided to Zap here. So Zap, for anyone, is basically when you're putting funds into a liquidity pool, you have to put in both sides. So in this one, you would have to put in Hunt and ADA. But if you only have one, you can do Zap, which basically sells half of it for the other token. So effectively what this ends up being is a bit of a buyback for the Hunt token, where they put in 10k ADA here. So the Dex Minswap in this case would sell 5k ADA and buy Hunt, and then the 5k ADA and the 5k ADA worth of Hunt goes into the liquidity pool. And you can see they've done this a few times, which does help stabilize the token price. Now, I know not every project will be able to do this, because to me, it's not a buyback technically, but it kind of is, because you are buying back part of the token as well as adding to the liquidity. But it is one to consider for some other projects. And look, I think that's kind of the summary of where I'm at on this. I don't think it's a rug for the JPEG token, but not having clarity around what was actually happening, it really spooked a lot of people in the market, and people were already getting a lot of free tokens, so they didn't need much encouragement to go in and just sell them off and move on. And in a bear market, it doesn't take a lot to spook people to just sell off the token and wait and see what happens. Hopefully you got some value. If I've missed anything you think is important, do leave it down below, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.